Welcome back to another edition of Baseball for Maniacs. The topic of this episode is going to be the Phillies opening day lineup in 2026. I'm going to give my opinion on what I think they should do. I'm also going to give my opinion on what I think the Phillies are going to do. And I want you guys to tell me your opening day lineup. Who do you want batting where? Because the lineup debate has been talked about in baseball for years after years after years. And it's a fun little discussion because it really shows where people's baseball minds are at, whether they're old school, new school. It's just fun to discuss, even though in reality, the lineup doesn't really matter that much where the placement is, because at the end of the day, the hitters have to hit wherever they're placed. And let's just get into my ideal lineup because you guys are probably going to disagree with this. I got leading off Bryce Harper, batting second, Kyle Schwarber, batting third, Trey Turner, batting fourth, Alec Bohm, batting fifth, Brandon Marsh, batting sixth, Adolis Garcia, batting seventh, Bryson Stott, batting eighth, JT Realmuto, and batting ninth, Justin Crawford. Some of you guys be like, why on earth would you have Bryce Harper in the leadoff spot? I think Bryce Harper can be your typical leadoff hitter because, yes, he has the power, but he also has a great eye. But last year he batted third, and he's been batting third basically his entire time in Philadelphia, but he hasn't had a real four-hitter the last 3 to 4 years to where the pitchers will throw out of the zone because they know they're not afraid of the guy behind him. That led to Bryce Harper chasing more than he normally does. He had his highest chase rate in 2025 of his career because you can always say, well, Bryce, just take what the pitcher gives you. And in reality, that is the most logical approach at the plate. But you have to understand how frustrating it is for Bryce Harper to see the least pitches in the zone out of any major league player. And the stats prove that. I think it's 43% pitches in the zone he saw. That's the least amount of strikes any major league hitter saw last year, to where you put him in the leadoff spot, and then you have the layer of protection of not only Kyle Schwarber and Trey Turner, because I'll get into what I believe the Phillies are going to do with Harper second, Schwarber third. They're going to flip-flop him. So then Bryce still has that layer of protection with Schwarber that he doesn't have. But if you put him in the leadoff spot, you have two layers of protection with Kyle Schwarber and Trey Turner. Now let's get into why I have Trey Turner batting third. I think Trey Turner's main ability is his speed, right? That's what we signed him. We signed him for the player he was in Washington and the Dodgers for those couple years. And I think it gets hindered when he's batting second or leadoff for the Philadelphia Phillies, because if he gets a single, right, and then he's on first base, but you got Kyle Schwarber or Bryce Harper coming up, you're not going to steal with Trey Turner because essentially you don't want to take the bat out of the hands of two of your power hitters. Because Kyle Schwarber, if Trey Turner's on first and he steals, they're most likely going to pitch around Schwarber because they have first base open. Same way with Bryce Harper, to where you got your big boppers up in the first inning, Harper, Schwarber, and let's say they get out. Excuse me. And then you have Trey Turner coming up with no outs. And let's say he gets a walk or he gets a single. Now you could steal with him forever because you have Alec Bohm behind him. And what does Alec Bohm do? He puts the ball in play. He's a contact hitter. He's not a four hitter. But if you have Trey Turner batting in front of him, you get creative with hit and runs, causing chaos on the bases to where, let's say Turner steals, they do a hit and run, Bomer hits a weak ground ball to second, but now that hole's open because the second baseman's covering second on the steal. I think that just goes into the sense of like you have to understand where your strengths are, to where Turner and Bohm back-to-back, I think, complement each other very well, similar to Harper and Schwarber. So that's why I would have Bryce Harper batting leadoff, Kyle Schwarber batting second, Turner 3, Bohm 4. And I think the trend in Major League Baseball is your best hitter has to hit first. You look at the Dodgers with Ohtani. You look at the Padres with Fernando Tatis Jr. You look at the Braves with Ronald Acuna Jr. You want your best player to get the most plate appearances in the game, and that's what you get in the leadoff spot. So that's why I would do those as my top four. I go Brandon Marsh, number 5, just to split up the lefties and righties. Adolis Garcia batting 6th. Bryson Stott batting 7th. JT batting 8th. Justin Crawford batting 9. Because in my opinion, the main debate with the Phillies is going to be the top 4. 5 through 9, you can mix match any way you want. Who's ever hitting well at the time, they could go up in the lineup. Who's ever struggling can go down. But it's really the top 4 that is the main, I guess, question with the Philadelphia Phillies. And then this is what I think the Phillies will do, realistically. I think Trey Turner's going to stay in the leadoff spot. I think Bryce Harper's going to bat second. Kyle Schwarber's going to bat third. Rob Thompson has already stated that he wants Schwarber, Turner, Harper batting in the first inning. So they're going to be 1 through 3, and whatever order that is, they're going to be batting in the first inning. And I think flip-flopping Harper and Schwarber is finally going to give Harper that protection that he needed, because we saw what it did for Kyle Schwarber last year when he had Bryce Harper protecting him compared to Trey Turner in years past. He had a career year. Now it's time to give Bryce Harper that same level of protection that Kyle Schwarber got. Now, ideally, you would have loved for the Philadelphia Phillies to get a real 4-hitter. They simply didn't do that. And it goes back to the point of Dabrowski saying, can Bryce Harper ever be elite again? And in Bryce Harper's head, he's saying, well, how about you give me the tools to be elite? How about you be an elite GM and finally get this team a real 4-hitter? But that's just what I think they're going to do. In the top 3, now I got Alec Bohm batting 4, Adolis Garcia batting 5, Brandon Marsh batting 6, JT Realmuto batting 7th, Bryson Stott batting 8th, Justin Crawford batting 9. Now, in this lineup, if the Phillies go with that, the only change I would make personally is if it's Turner, Harper, Schwarber, I would have Adolis Garcia batting 4 instead of Alec Bohm, simply because I think Adolis Garcia in the 4 spot will lead to Schwarber or Harper, who's ever batting third, to see more pitches, simply because he has that threat of sending one to the moon. He has the power threat to where in the playoffs or even the regular season, pitchers are willing to walk Harper or Schwarber to face Bohm, because at worst, Bohm is most likely just going to get a single or double in the gap, to where they're going to attack those hitters. If you have Adolis Garcia in the 4-hole, now get it. Adolis Garcia is not a great option because he strikes out a lot and he's coming off 2 bad seasons, but it's just the sense of the power to where I think that would play in the pitcher's head a little bit. That would lead to Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper seeing more pitches. And then 5 through 9, it's really going to stay the same. I mean, I don't think that's going to change that much. Like I said, it's going to be based off who's playing well at the time. And then against lefties, this is my ideal lineup. I would do Harper, Schwarber, Turner, Bohm, Garcia, JT, Otto Kemp, and Mundo Sosa, Justin Crawford. I mean, against lefties, the only changes are going to be, obviously, Otto Kemp is going to bat against lefties in left field, substituting for Brandon Marsh, and then Mundo Sosa is going to be substituting for Bryson Stott at second base. Now, me personally, I think Bryson Stott can hit against lefties, and in my video I said, I think yesterday when I was talking about Bryson Stott's breakout year, I want the Phillies to trade Alec Bohm, let third base be in Mundo Sosa, Otto Kemp. That does 2 things. 1, it allows Bryson Stott to play every day against lefties, and I think he can do that. And I think that would also lead to more production against righties, because if you're in the lineup every single day, you're in more of a rhythm, you're in more of a groove, to where I think it just lends to a overall more successful Major League player. And then Justin Crawford's going to play every day. Lefty, righty, doesn't matter. You got to give him a shot in center field. And then my only other lineup thought would be, now this would be like mid-season or a change, based on if Bryson Stott has the success he had the last 61 games of the year, where he batted .294 and an .855 OPS. If that's the player Bryson Stott is going forward, he's your leadoff hitter. Then it would go Bryson Stott, Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, to where that top 4 is legit and you have a real 4-hitter, because the top 3, in my opinion, is always going to be good. Turner, Schwarber, Harper, they're always going to produce, but it's that 4 spot to where if Bryson Stott can be that leadoff hitter, you can kind of lengthen the line of 1 through 4, taking a hitter that's more towards the bottom of the order and putting him in that leadoff spot. Will Bryson Stott do that? I don't know. I said Bryson Stott will be the starting second baseman for the National League All-Star game. That's a bold prediction, but I truly believe the swing adjustment he made at the end of, or at the mid-season in 2025, when Kevin Long told him to put his hands down, I think that was a direct A-B correlation to where he's going to build off that. Is Bryson Stott was the leadoff hitter last year for, I think, like 30 games, and he struggled mightily, but he is your typical leadoff hitter in the sense of he works the at-bat, he grinds pitches, he sees pitches to where you have Harper, Schwarber, Turner on deck, they can get a feel for the pitcher, and I think that would just lend to the Philadelphia Phillies getting another level of success. So that's kind of what I would do with the lineup. There's a couple different options, but ideally, I'll go through it again. This is my ideal lineup. Harper leading off, Kyle Schwarber batting 2, Trey Turner batting 3, Alec Bohm batting 4, because I think Turner and Bohm play off each other well with the speed and the contact aspect. Brandon Marsh batting 5, Adolis Garcia batting 6, Bryce Stott batting 7th, JT batting 8th, Justin Crawford batting 9. So let me know what you guys want for the opening day lineup. What do you think is the best culmination of 1 through 9? Thing about a baseball season is it's going to change. It's going to change based on how the players are producing at the time, to where we might be talking in October of a completely different scenario. Aiden Miller might be in the mix. We might sign or trade for someone at the deadline. Probably not, based on Dave Dombrowski's trade deadline history. I don't think he has the ability to go get a legit bat, and I really don't think our farm system is going to be in any position to make a major upgrade, because I think Painter's going to make the opening day roster. Justin Crawford's the opening day center fielder. Aiden Miller, you're not trading regardless. So who do you have to trade to get a big bat at the deadline? That's kind of the situation we're in. But let me know your guys' thoughts on what the Phillies opening day lineup should be. Because like I said, I enjoy getting all opinions on this stuff. I just love talking ball. So go Phils, and you guys have a good one.